Hello everyone, Damien here from DKBrickStudios. Today we'll be doing another Bill Talk video. Yes indeed, we will be doing another one of those. So yeah, today we'll be finishing up the Rumbler, and yeah, today we'll be doing something a little different. I'll be reading at least one article today. I have two pulled up, but I'll be reading at least one article today, and we'll be reading those. Yeah. I'll be giving a bit of commentary, kind of adding on to that, and seeing how my thoughts are on that. And yeah, before we get started, let's let that intro roll, and we'll get started with it, shall we? Let's. Alrighty, so let's get into this. So, I'll have the article linked in the description down below. At least I should remember to do that. If I don't, comment down below that I forgot to do that if I did. So yeah, I will make sure to remember to do that. So yeah, let's get into this. So, the article I'll be covering today is 4 reasons why BioShock 2 is the series' best game. So, let's go over the intro paragraph here. The BioShock series was one of the most beloved of the last console generation, earning countless accolades and awards. The series is back in news because of all 3 games have now gotten a current gen upgrade in the BioShock collection. This is probably out released. Yeah, this got published September 24th, 2016. So yeah, this was out about 3 years ago, and I can say that with certainty. But yeah, it's been out. It's a while ago. But yeah, now is an opportune time to rediscover and reevaluate these games. I'm continuing on with the article here. You might come to the same conclusion I did. BioShock 2 is the best BioShock title of all. I'll actually go into BioShock 2, what I liked about BioShock 2, because it's up there with BioShock 1. I love BioShock 1 and 2 the same amount. I'll be going into that with not the next 2, because that's the Lancer. We're not on Delta yet. We're almost to Delta. We got Delta neck. We'll have Delta after the Lancer. Delta will be the one I'll be talking about all that. So yeah. So we continue on here. BioShock 2 got some acclaim when it first came out, but it was generally regarded as the lesser entry. To many, the game seemed like an easy cash-in sequel that was made without the involvement of the series' director, Ken Levine. But now, with the BioShock series seemingly put to bed, the 2010 sequel has aged the best of the lot. Before you disagree, hear me out and read the 4 reasons BioShock 2 is the best BioShock game. Alrighty, so let's get into this. Right, so the first thing the guy cites here is it features BioShock's strongest protagonist. I'm gonna give I'll give my first thoughts before we read into this, and then before we read the paragraphs that he has about explaining it, go into his explanation, and then I'll go into the explanation, alright? So, I can definitely see that. Jack was a human, and technically he was 4 years old at the time of the game, but still he did have some power in him, but still he wasn't as matured as Booker. Although Booker isn't as powerful as the Big Daddy. The Big Daddies are a very powerful entity in the BioShock franchise. They're probably one of, if not the powerful group of people. So I can definitely get behind the idea that it was the strongest protagonist in the game. They might not be talking about strongest in strength, but they might be talking about emotional. We'll have to see. We'll definitely be checking that out here in the article here. Oh, well, first off, right off the bat, I'm not referring to physical strength here, so as a Big Daddy, Subject Delta certainly is powerful, Delta is a bit deeper of character in BioShock 2 than BioShock's Jack and BioShock Infinite's Booker. Yeah, I can agree. I mean, we definitely have this emotional attachment with him because we want to see him. In my opinion, I'm kind of putting this in right now. I can definitely see that. We definitely see that we definitely see throughout the whole story that he wants to get to his little sister. Because if he doesn't get to his little sister, he dies, and we go through that whole story, and it's actually, I can definitely see where he's going at with this, and I can actually agree with him on that. So yeah, I'm wholeheartedly behind that. So let's continue. There's more to this though. It's not just that. There's more to this. Jack is merely a tool used by everyone around him, which makes for a fun twist, but a non-existent character. True, it's basically, my version of Jack is different from your version of Jack. It's, in a way, because how I play as Jack is different from somebody else, because how I play as Jack, because Jack is kind of like I feel like how Jack was done in the game kind of was done as the everyman, It was kind of giving us an every person look into BioShock. Like, hey, here you are, a person just coming into BioRapture. Come look at it as your point of view, and you come play it as however you want to play it as. You can either compare with the little sisters, kill or rescue them. You can go all out on your plasmids, have all offensive, or have some offensive and defensive, which I kind of have a tendency to use offensive and defensive plasmids. Or you can do a whole stealthful attack. There's so many different playstyles that you can do in this franchise that one version of Jack that you may play as is different than another version of Jack that you can play as. So I can definitely see where he's going at with this. That's kind of my addition onto this, but making sure Jack is merely a tool. I might be repeating something, but still, Jack is merely a tool used by everyone around him, which makes for a fun twist, but non-existent character. Supposedly, Booker is more involved, but his past is much more interesting than the broken man we see in Infinite. Yeah, I kind of was, the past was interesting. Booker's past was really interesting. It wasn't interesting. His past was interesting. I will say that. I will give him that. I will say that, even though I wasn't a fan of Infinite. I will be explaining that why in Delta. So hit that subscribe button if you want to learn why. In Subject Delta, you don't have a blank slate. Have a blank slate everyman like how I see it as Jack. Everyman, Delta is more of a Frankenstein monster, slowly regaining his memories and humanity throughout the course of the campaign. Very true. Eleanor is helping him guide him through the mission and throughout the world as he gains his abilities, his weaponry. She gives him some little help, some new weaponry and some of that, and some plasmids and some tonics as the mission as you go on throughout the levels. You'll see more. He does become more human in a way as the story progresses. He starts off as like a monster, but becomes more of a human as the story progresses. I can see that, yeah. Delta's more like Frankenstein's monster and slowly regaining his memories and humanity throughout the course of the campaign. You get to see Rapture through his experiences and reactions of the people there. He has a history of the ruins in the ruins of Rapture, and it's one directly related to all the most famous people. Delta feels more involved with his environment instead of being the stranger who comes to the town and blows everything up. And his is a complete arc thanks to his connection to BioShock's trademark Little Sisters. True, I definitely see that. He definitely has that connection. He definitely is not just some like Jack. He came in and blew everything up in the city, like literally. He came in, blew some stuff up, and left, and took some little sisters with him. But Delta, on the other hand, I mean, that's how I see it in my game. Looking at this lens, that's basically how it came about. But still, Delta. Well, also we go with Booker. He also came through the city, blew some things up, and left in different universes of it. So, yeah, that makes it interesting. That does make sense. He fits with the story. We get to there's some of the people we meet in those stories. He actually has a connection to, like Grace, Holiday, Gracie. No, it's Grace. I'm mixing up. What's her face? Uh, I'm mixing up Destiny with BioShock right now. My God. But Gracie with her Eleanor, that whole bit with how she had Eleanor and then she saw her and then he broke her jaw. Not Sinclair. Well, Sinclair might have had a bit of an involvement with that, but I mean, he helped him get through the city. What's his face? BioShock, not Sinclair, the reporter guy, I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head. Stanley Poole. Yes, Stanley Poole. I can't believe I forgot about that guy's name. But still, Stanley Poole, he helped turn you into who you are today. He turned you into Ryan. He played a part in turning you into Mr. Subject Delta. From Johnny Topside into Subject Delta. And then with Alex the Great, you were a part of the plasmid trials and all that, so you had a whole role of the plasmids and getting an introduction to the plasmids. And with Sophia Lamb, you and her have a daughter. Well, technically, I mean, she's Sophia Lamb. Eleanor is the biological daughter of Eleanor of not Ellen, but Sophia. But Delta, but Eleanor was the little sister of Delta, so she was like so you were like a father to her. So I can see, so he has a lot of connections in the city, unlike Jack, who just meets Atlas in the beginning. It's like he's the only connection to the city. And then it's Bridget Tenenbaum, who, I mean, yeah, Jack does come back to the city, but I mean, it's like, he doesn't really know the city. He was probably stuck in a lab, and he didn't get to explore it. Delta, on the other hand, got to explore the city and got to work on it. Ready, so we're going to go on to the next point that he has. The story humanizes the little sisters. I definitely agree with that. I definitely remember when I first picked up the little sisters in the game. I think it was one of the first times I did that. Hearing them talk while I was interacting with the world with certain things, like the power to the people. One of my favorite things I love to hear from the little sister say is, "Oldie toy, newie toy," and I'm like, love hearing her say that. It's such a fun that and even Daddy's toys have toys, and it's like, yes, indeed. It gives me a little chuckle just hearing her interact with the world. They make them feel more alive and more like a part of the world, and actually, like they're actually human, like actually little girls, and just things you gotta go and rescue, just like an object you have to deal with in the game in BioShock 1. So let's see what he is. The first bit. Let's see what he says in this game, in this article. The emotional test of killing or sparing a little sister was a hallmark of the first game, but they were closer to fancy props in an exploration of free will. Definitely true. I definitely see that with the first game. will you free the little sisters or will you not free the little sisters? You know, it's up to you. Will you give them free will or will you let them die? Will you kill them? You know, it's up to you. Give them back to humanity or not. It's up to you. BioShock 2 brought back the killer save mechanic, but deepened it considerably. Now if you spare a little sister, they would briefly accompany you through a level to collect Adam. With them as AI companions, you got to experience the other side of a big daddy exercising and protecting a little sister. They'd even shout encouragement from the sidelines, creating more of a bond between the player and the unfortunate victims. Yeah, that is definitely true. That was what I was saying. Yeah, they were shouting encouragement. They were saying things to you. Like, if you hit them with incinerate, they'd say, I believe one of the things should say, like, marshmallows. And I'm like, that was just that's so cute, but also, I remember when I used, what's-his-face, Tarka Dummy for the first time, I wanted to know what she would say. She just, she said, go play with Spooky Daddy, and I was just like, I just had to stop, I had to go hide, and have a laugh. She's not wrong. She's so not wrong. It just, oh my god, that moment that gives me some laughter. That gives me some chuckles. It gives me some chuckles. That gives me some laughter. So I believe right now, I'm working on the arms on this model. Just giving you guys a view of what's going on in the model. Give us a quick bit on here. Yep, okay, that connection deepens when you meet Eleanor, a now empowered, grown-up little sister. BioShock 2 even has a segment where you play as a little sister and collect all the Adam. Seeing Rapture through her damaged psyche makes you understand their plight much better and than any speech weighing the pros and cons of a libertarianism. In general, BioShock 2 ditches much of the prophesizing and finds more power in emotions. That is true. One of the things I was excited about was being a big daddy and the whole thing with the little sisters. I wanted to know how they were going to do that aspect of the game. That was going to be, to me, so interesting to know, oh my god, what are they going to do with the, like, that was one of the things that got me interested in that. And then I found out and I was like, whoa. Okay, and then that whole bit with the little sister is like, I was amazed by that. I was like, whoa, I was like taken aback for a second. I'm like, so this is what they see Rapture as. Okay, this is pretty cool, but also this is kind of messed up because this is, like, that's how they see Rapture as. Oh my god. These poor girls. These poor little girls. Ready. On to the next one. It introduces some compelling new villains. Alrighty. Let's see what but before we get into that, yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole thing with what's her face? The Sophia Lamb, her dichotomy, her whole ideology was very interesting ideology, and it definitely was something to have in there. Plus, the big sisters, those things are a pain in the butt to fight, but are very rewarding when you beat them. Like, that's a reward, like, that's like a, I have a sigh of relief, like, whew. And, let's go spend some Adam. Kind of like, yes, let's go get some new tricks, let's go get some new powers. But to me, that's just like, okay, I've done all I could. I finished it. I took her out. Awesome. We're good. I beated her. Thank God. So, yeah, let's kind of see what they have to say here. I didn't have much really to say for this one, but yeah, we will be building. I will say this quickly. I will be building the big sister. That's the last model of the BioShock wave, and then we'll be heading on to Star Trek. So yeah, hit subscribe for that. I would highly recommend saying subscribe to see that model. That's a good model. I did a really good job with that model and Eleanor's model, the big sister version of Eleanor. I didn't do her proper. I didn't want to do Eleanor proper yet. I haven't done any human version of the characters yet. I will probably do that in the future, though. I want to do Jack, and I want to do Frank Fontaine and Atlas, and I want to do Andrew Ryan along with maybe Sandra Cohen. I want to do a number of the characters from the game so I can give them this, like, make them look, give them like this kind of, add them into the world for you guys so you can maybe mess around with it. But yeah. Alrighty, so. The lead villains of BioShock and BioShock Infinite offered up these two-sided arguments. Yeah, it definitely did. I don't really know what the arguments were for BioShock Infinite, but I definitely know what the BioShock Infinites were. BioShocks were dead. I can definitely have that whole thing. I don't really know what I walked out of BioShock Infinite confused. Every time I went to play it, every time I finished doing a run of that game, every time I did some time on that game, it was just like, oh my god, this game is just, can I just finish this dang game? But still, I'll be talking more about that in Delta. It might be either part 1 or part 2, we'll have to see, but it'll be there. So yeah, but BioShock 2's Sophia Lamb showed there are more directions to take a dystopia. Indeed there are. Yes, there are indeed. Lamb's villainy is a mix of socialism and religious collectivism, a sharp contrast to Andrew Ryan that took what was left of Rapture in a surprising new direction. Yeah, it was actually surprising to see how that went about. I was actually quite surprised how that all happened. How Andrew Ryan... how that all happened, how they took the whole deal, and how they went about explaining her ideals. Because her ideals are actually very interesting, and how in seeing it in the game was actually a very, very interesting thing. I will say that that was one of the interesting aspects of the game, and I definitely will say that she did have some interesting aspects on that. So yeah, let's continue on with this. Okay, I'm just gonna repeat. A sharp contrast to Andrew Ryan that took what was left of Rapture in a surprising new direction, and backing her up were the vicious Big Sisters. Each Big Sister encountered is an event, a challenging and lengthy boss battle that is a smart escalation of the first game's Big Daddy fights. Agreed 100%. The first game's Big Daddy fights were like this battle. You literally had to prepare for the battles. Although, when you go to fight the Big Sisters, for me, it's like, I don't really have time to prepare for the battles. Because it's just, after I rescue the little sister, it's like, oh shit, I should prepare. I can't prepare. I have to all I'm doing to prepare is make sure I have whatever weapons I'm going to quickly use in the battle. Like, I'm probably going to use the heavy rivet gun, some heavy rivet ammo. Load that up. Probably use some, what's its face? Probably use the rocket spear. Get those ready. Get some of the armor-piercing machine rounds ready. Get those ready. Like, I'm getting all my ammo ready, so that way I know I don't have to swap to them. I can just swap to the guns I need and just use them, take her out, and go from there. And I'm making sure I have the plasmids I know I'm going to use. I'm coming up with a bit of a plan in my head of how I'm going to use certain plasmids to start her off and get her down, to get some health on her, take some health off of her. So yeah. The unpredictability of their arrival ratcheted up the tension of the scary exploration, even when you're got a friendly big sister like Eleanor backing you up. These villains are more driven and understandable than the bloodthirsty monsters you've come across in the other two games. Yeah, they are. I mean, Andrew Ryan does have his own, like, you can understand where Andrew Ryan's going. I can see where Frank Fontaine's motivations are. But, I mean, I couldn't really understand where anybody was going in Infinite. I can't really understand that. Meanwhile, with 2 and 1, I was able to understand that. So, 1, I had trouble understanding that. The only thing I could understand was, don't let Elizabeth leave the city. Must get Elizabeth out of the city. That's all I could understand. So yeah, let's talk. So the last talking point here, and I'm probably going to go into the other article. Yeah, this might be a reoccurring thing. I will say that quickly. But yeah, so we'll go into the next topic here. Also, quickly, right here, we are working on building the arm of the gun of the Big Daddy. The giant cannon on his arm. Like, we're doing that next. That's actually really cool. That was actually a really cool feature I liked that I was able to get in. So yeah, now to the next thing. So they're going to be talking about Minerva's Den. Minerva's Den was actually a really great game. I feel like, honestly, BioShock 1, 2, Minerva's Den, if Minerva's Den was actually the third game in the BioShock franchise, as opposed to just a DLC, it could have been a really good trilogy of games. And then we could have taken BioShock Infinite and Burial at Sea 1 and 2 and made them their whole thing. They could have had that as another set of BioShock games. That's just how I see it, of course. I mean, but again, they did a really good job with the game. The game was it was fun. I want to go back and play it again because that was so fun, just being able to play as another Big Daddy and have a really cool gun that's only exclusive to that game. It was fun, and I really enjoyed it. So, let's go over it. Let's go over what his points are on this. Yeah. Okay, so he starts off with, no offense to Burial at Sea, which was a fantastic bookend to the BioShock series, but the best DLC was BioShock 2's Minerva's Den. I agree. That's actually number 2 on my list of BioShock games. Anything that was related to the lore, I played, and I just went all ham, and then I was like, yep, Minerva's Den is 2. Minerva's Den is number 2 on my list, and then Infinite became 3. And then Burial at Sea became 4. Or it's one of those things became 3 and 4. So yeah. Back in 2010, Minerva's Den was such a surprise. The story of Subject Sigma searching for the Thinker computer system is like a streamlined version of BioShock's narrative. You quickly collect powerful plasmids and weapons, and encounter little sisters and big daddies, and listen to audio diaries full of sadness and drama. Yeah, that is true. You do have that. That does happen. But this story is much more personal than the large scope of the rest, telling a tale of loss and grief that is much more poignant than some might expect. I was not expecting the ending of this game, okay? I was not expecting it. I was not expecting the Thinker to be impersonating Charles Milton Porter, and then Charles Milton Porter to be Sigma. Oh my god, that was a twist, okay? That was one twist, alright? That was another good twist. The BioShock franchise has got some good twists, alright? Minerva's Den ended up such a critical darling that the team behind it would leave 2K Marin to keep working on games with similar scopes and emotional weight. The team would form an indie developer Fulbright and release Gone Home to critical acclaim in 2013. Have not played that game. Might want to look into that. Maybe play it on the gaming channel. Which, speaking of the gaming channel, check that out. That is linked down in the description down below. or you can just search it up on YouTube. That is DKBrickStudios. Link to that will always be in the description down below. Highly recommend checking that out. We've got some good stuff going on down there. So yeah, and this is just a wrap-up of the article. So, let's go, Mr. B. Are you convinced to give the game another shot? I mean, heck, I always play BioShock 2, and BioShock 2 and Infinite, BioShock 2 and 1 are the two games I play the most. Okay, are the two games out of the three that I've played of the BioShock major titles. I need to play Minerva's Dead a bit more, but I love those three. Those are the two games I play. Like, I'll play, like, there are times, like, I'll play BioShock 1. I play BioShock 1, maybe do Destiny a couple days, and then I'll go right into BioShock 2, or go right into BioShock 2, and then just constantly do that loop. I'll do that loop, okay? It's the cycle. I did that in my college semester where we got our PlayStation. It was awesome, okay? It was awesome. I loved it. I'm gonna say that. It was great. Dive back into BioShock 2 and you'll see how right I am. You'll understand you underestimated this game back in 2010, and just like with Subject Delta, you'll re-examine what you thought you knew. This article was done by Henry Gilbert. Alrighty, honestly, I think this was a good article. Got me convinced. I mean, heck, I already think this was a good article. It was already a good game, nonetheless. So yeah. Like I said, we're working on the gun for Delta, for Rumbler. So yeah, honestly, really good article. I honestly feel like I'm convinced. I mean, heck, I'm already convinced. I was convinced at the very beginning, yet, hey, love the game nonetheless. So yeah, why don't we go into the other article I have here? Which is BioShock. Big Ideas, Gaming Meets Philosophy. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about that. So yeah, talk about like how I feel like this is gonna be I'm gonna give my idea. I'm gonna do like I did when we got to each ideal, each title for each paragraph, or like the title for each reason why, and then before they got into explaining it. So I'm gonna explain what I think this article is gonna be about. I think this article is going to talk about what BioShock is. How BioShock, where it got to, and how it worked so well. Like, that's not the word I'm looking for, but how it did its thing. How the philosophy works in the gaming, and where it's seen in the games. In the game, at least. So, yeah. Let's go into this. BioShock made a huge impact when the game developer Rational Games first released it in 2007. Dang. That's a long time ago. When was this? Let's first actually... Okay, this came out in December 3rd, 2016, so... a few months ago. A while ago. But still, I still feel like this is valid enough to go over. Let's go. We can still go over this. I have no problems going over this, so... it made a huge impact when Irrational first released it. The game is a narrative-driven first-person shooter set in the wonderful designed utopia underwater Art Deco city of Rapture. God, that's a mouthful, but that is totally true. Rapture is all of that, and I totally agree with all of that. Most first-person shooters may be narrative-driven, but BioShock places more emphasis on plot and world design than most games, particularly when compared to the games at the time. Most notably, the game is different because it showcases its dense philosophical and literal references and inspiration. Alrighty. So, Ayn Rand's influence. So, obviously, I have a feeling this is going to talk about Ayn Rand's influences on the whole game. That's my thinking. Let's get into this. So, the biggest influence on BioShock is the author, Ayn Rand. Rand wrote 4 novels in her lifetime. One of those, The Fountainhead, is a story of an architect who refuses to have his artistic integrity and individuality diminished for global success. Her most recognizable work, Atlas Shrugged, was her last and most successful novel. The book tells the story of John Glatt, a businessman who casts aside American business traditions and sets about a plan to stop the motor of the world. Much of Rand's writing tells of men changing society's traditions, bringing the conflict and individuality versus collectivism to light. Alrighty. Influence on BioShock characters. So this is probably just going to talk about what characters got influenced by these books. And during the developmental process, which characters got influenced, were based off, and who got hit by these, and who were created out of these, essentially, my thinking. BioShock takes Rand's ideas to craft its narrative and world in which the gamer gets to explore. Rapture's founder, Andrew Ryan, is himself a representation of Ayn Rand, an albeit gender-swapped one. He is an amalgamation of the Fountainhead's Howard Rourke and Atlas Shrugged's John Galt. So, yeah, I haven't read those books, but I mean, I might want to give them a look. Might help help increase my love for BioShock. I love looking into things that have influenced some of my favorite things, like Star Wars. I've enjoyed watching like the movie The Last Samurai. Really good book, really good movie. I mean, not a book. Ryan saw the problems with the world and decided to cut ties with it rather than to help fix a damaged society. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. Ryan proclaims as players are first shown Rapture's sprawling underwater cityscape. There are other important characters who embody Rand's characters and drives. Dr. Steinman, a plastic surgeon, and Sander Cohen, an artist, have a lot in common with the Fountainhead's Howard Rourke. Although a much darker take on the architect, Stein and Cohen both desire to keep their artistic integrity and refuse to compromise. This leads to both of these men foregoing their humanity as they torture and murder citizens of Rapture in the name of art. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, I definitely see that. Definitely see that. Definitely see that. I'm going to try to go through this because this is a bit of a longer one, but we're going to go through this as much as possible. So, this one's on, hence why I'm not adding as much commentary onto this, but we're going to go as much as we can. So, other references. This is probably going to be talking about other references that the game has had. The references to Rand's work are much too numerous to mention of all of them here, but a quick note, you can guide through Rapture, the character that helps through the players throughout their adventures in BioShock is named Atlas. He tasks you with finding his wife, Dara, to help them escape Rapture, so BioShock's Atlas metaphorically carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. Yeah, Atlas is, as it turns out, was playing us the whole time. He's actually an industrialist, Frank Fontaine, the head of Fontaine's Futuristics. Both of these names serve as references to Rand's novels and novels that most impact the game. Yeah, that is definitely true. Yeah, Atlas Shrugged and the Fountainhead. So yeah, what's here? Randian objectivism. Randian objectivism, they're probably just going to be talking about how this plays into the game. Randian objectivism plays a very important role in shaping BioShock and Rapture's morality. The philosophy in Ayn Rand's works. In particular, The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged posits that a man is worth what he can offer to society and not how much capital he has. I honestly believe in that. Honestly believe that that's part of something I definitely believe. As much work as you can, no matter what, you have with the sweat of your brow, you can make whatever you want. You can, what you have whatever you can. You can make whatever you're trying to achieve be yours. Although you do need to, of course, there are obviously resources and all that, but I'm trying to use that in a more of a capitalistic way, it seems. So yeah, I can see that. Ryan envisioned Rapture as a safe haven for like-minded folk away from the world of the surface, which, in Ryan's view, was not serving the common man as he ought to be served. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? The world has become awash with religion, politics, and imperialism. Everybody works to serve others, to be served by others, and to be served by others, not for themselves. Rapture is, at its core, the embodiment of Randian objectivism, complete with all of its flaws. While perhaps idealistic and noble to inherit intent, what Ryan doesn't predict to be it, though some oversight and naivety, is that there are flaws in this ideology. The cracks in Ryan's utopia unravel both physically and metaphorically. The city crumbles under the water's pressure, so too does the society crumble through the lack of structure. You cannot have a functioning society without some sort of hierarchical structure, even in a city as fantastical as Rapture. BioShock points out the flaws in Randian objectivism. No matter how wonderful a place is, somebody will have to be held accountable for the city's welfare, maintain its pipes, and scrub its toilets. In a city built to have a man serve only himself, it's no wonder the people revolt and Rapture falls. Yeah, you gotta have somebody do those, the jobs nobody really wants to do. You gotta have somebody scrub the toilets, take care of the garbage, you gotta have people do those jobs as well. You can't just do that as well. George Orwell's 1984. I don't know where this could be going, but let's see where this takes us, along with our inspirations of Rapture. Another important influence on BioShock is George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984. The book is set in an Airstrip 1, which is formerly Great Britain. In a world with severe class divide, political propaganda rules the outer party, and proles, upper, middle, and lower class. Two other big themes in 1984 are surveillance, Big Brother is watching, and mind control or brainwashing. Thematically, 1984 is polar opposite of Ayn Rand's work. Could they be talking about how Andrew Ryan eventually gave into the idea of mind controlling all the splicers? That could be where they're going with this, because that could actually play into a part of that. One can argue that while Andrew Ryan follows Randian ideas, Frank Fontaine is his opposing variant Orwellian ideals. Frank Fontaine wants to industrialize Rapture with a class system and hierarchy. To do this, he initiates a power struggle to take control away from Ryan. Yeah, you will definitely need to do that in order to take control over a Rapture. Yeah, that's definitely something you would have to do. It makes sense too. I mean, he did want to take control of Rapture, so I can see why he would want to. I could see I could see him wanting to, have it controlled in that sense. Oh yeah, we're still working on the gun. The gun was a bit of a pain. Took a while to figure out, but we're almost there with it. We're just getting the base dealt with now, with the actual assemblage done. But after that, it'll be all done. And then on to the little sister, the turret, and yeah. We're almost done with this build talk, folks. That's exciting. I don't know what I'm going to do after I finish these two in this article, but we'll see. So next we're on to the Big Daddies and the Little Sisters. I'll say this. I'll make sure to put this down article also in the comment section down, and not in the comments, but in the description down below. So if you want to take a look at either article, read it yourself, go ahead. You're welcome to do that. Make comments on either on this or on the channel. We can have a discussion. Let's have some discussion here. I'm always welcome to having some discussions. BioShock's most this is referring to the Big Daddies and Little Sisters. Most overt reference to 1984 is the Little Sisters and Big Daddies. It is a direct reference to Big Brother. The reference isn't referring to Orwellian surveillance, but rather the way Little Sisters are assisting Big Daddies to watch over them. Big Brother doesn't watch the people for good of the people. Its ever-present gaze is self-serving and for the good of the government. Just like the function of the Big Daddies is to watch over the Little Sisters. It isn't necessary for their protection, but because the Little Sisters gather Adam, which is a valuable commodity in Rapture. Yeah. They have to constantly watch over the Little Sisters. If they weren't there, all the Little Sisters would have been killed and would have been harvested by everybody in Rapture, and all their Adam would have been taken, and there would be nobody producing Adam. Nobody would be producing Adam. So yeah, that they are very important. So now we're on to the Would You Kindly phenomenon. I'm actually going to want to talk a bit about this before we get into it. I actually really like this whole Would You Kindly bit. The whole Would You Kindly portion of BioShock. Like, the idea of Would You Kindly is such a great idea, and such a subtle way to mind control somebody. Such a subtle way to, trick somebody into doing it, even though they don't know it until they don't know anything, since they don't know what's going on, and then they find out the actual reason that's until they find out the trigger, and then they're like, oh my god, what have I done? And it's such a great thing. I really like it. I really do. BioShock explores choice and free will, as when you get a little sister, you can choose what to do with them. Yes, indeed, you get to choose to harvest them or rescue them. I'm always a rescuer, so I like to rescue, even though that gives me less Adam. I mean, Bridget Tenenbaum gives you extra goodies, gives you some goodies along with Eleanor, which is true. But I will always rescue. Do you serve yourself and harvest, or do you save them? BioShock is full of moral choices like this, and so it's a shock. So it's a shock when the Would You Kindly moment reveals that you have been under mind control the entire time, and Fontaine has been controlling you your every move. All with a simple phrase that has seemed unremarkable until the revelation of what was really going on. Yeah, that moment, I just want to mention that moment was really good. That's a really well done moment. They did a really good job with that. I'm probably going to be ending up talking about this and other moments in the game for BioShock, because it's just about in the Delta video, just because it's so good. Like, there's portions of BioShock that's just like, oh yeah, I really I get where they're going at with this, and they did a really good job of making this work, and I like that. We're about like 10 minutes left in the video, so depending on how much longer this article takes, I'm probably gonna wrap up the recording session for all the video stuff here. Head on over to the audio. Head on over to the outro, record the outro, and I'll meet you all in the outro. But we still got a bit left of the article. So yeah, a little one last bit, but we'll go from there. See how long that takes, and yeah. Right now, as you can see, we're working on the turret. The turret actually it wasn't that hard to build, actually. And then last but not least, it's the little sister. And you kind of see all the other guys with their little sisters at the end of the video, I believe. So yeah, I might end you off on that. But yeah. Where were we? Shoot. Which currently also serves as a very meta reference in games in general, ask players to commit all sorts of atrocities, oftentimes in a very menial, repetitive fetch quote quests. As gamers, we oblige simply because we are asked to follow instructions, and never really question why or given any thought to the contrary. Yeah, that is true. We just go about doing it. We go and take it. We go and do the quest, and they're like, okay, here. And then obviously Ken Levine was like, okay, how about we take that and flip it on its head? And that's just, I love that. So, last one of the paragraphs, and then we'll be on to the outro after that. You'll probably have a bit of silence, unfortunately. I should really start putting some music at the end just for you guys, but I'll have to see. I'll probably need to get some non-copyrighted music, but again, I'll see what I can do. So, inspired by another game, BioShock doesn't take inspiration from literary sources. BioShock doesn't just take inspiration from literary sources. The game owes a lot of its owes a lot to its spiritual predecessor, System Shock 2. The game was Irrational Games' first release after its formation in 1997, a mix of RPG and first-person shooter. System Shock 2 told its story and backstory through radio chatter and audio logs, and it also had a surprising twist at the end. Those elements were all refined and carried over to BioShock and its later sequel, BioShock Infinite. Without the critical acclaim that System Shock received, BioShock may never have existed. The face of gaming today would be a very different one. So, yeah, that's basically it. There's actually one more sentence at the end of this, and I'm gonna say that right now. So, would you kindly give BioShock the credit it deserves? And they're pointing to the article we just looked at, and they have an article linked to the last one we just looked at. This article was done by Dan Pullinger. Did a good job with this article. I definitely agree with that. So yeah, if you guys want to see any more of these, I'll have to see what articles I can find on BioShock. Yeah, I honestly think I think this was a good thing. I actually enjoy doing this. So yeah, I'm gonna head on over to the outro. We're gonna wrap this all up, and yeah, I'm just getting all the steps done for the little sister. There's not much there, but yeah, you can just meet me at the outro if you want. I'll meet you all there. Alrighty, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I actually enjoyed recording this. It was cool to actually just stand here and talk about BioShock and record and talk and read some articles here. I might actually do that again in some other videos. Let me know if there's any articles you'd like to have me give my thoughts and opinions on. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check out my friends on Ryan. Link to that in the description down below, along with my other channel, DKBrickStudios, which is linked it down there, along with my Patreon. Link to that's also down there as well, along with along with all my socials, which are also linked down there as well. So yeah, this is Davey from DKBrickStudios, signing off. Remember, may the force and the force of others be with you always. I'll see you all in the next video.
Birds of a feather, well weathered together, chasing the dark from the night. Trust in your feelings and find a new hope. Take your best shot and